color coordinated. Hey guys, my name's Stuart Brisgell. That's David Solomon. He's in Montreal. I'm in Florida. Most of you know us as This is the Rant Network. And, like always, David and I got a lot to talk about in just a quarter hour of your time. And today, it's really about losing touch with voters. This is a global phenomenon. This isn't an American phenomenon because it's happening here, it's happening in Canada, Great Britain, it's happening all over the world. So, David, I know that you're very passionate about this subject, and being Friday, I'm going to let you start again first.
Well, look, folks, I got to tell you, who am I talking about here? When you're talking about the use of fear, propaganda, misinformation, who am I talking about? Now, if I'm talking to a hardcore liberal Democrat, of course they're going to say, well, you're talking about the Republican Party. Of course, it's the GOP. And if I speak to a Republican, hardcore Republican, they're going to say it's a Democrat. But the funny thing, Stuart, is it continues to be the use of it is international. You said it, every country is to be implemented. Because why would policy matter? Why would real issues matter? The only time that this really matters is if you actually have a leg to stand on. And the Democratic Party, Stuart, for the 2022 midterms don't have anything to stand on. Okay? Because let's take a look at who's yapping. You got AOC, who lies and says that AIPAC is just an arm of the Republican Party. It's an anti-American thing. So racism, it's okay. Let's be racist. We're okay, no problem. Then you've got you've got the president of the United States and his henchmen, Barack Obama, Hilary Clinton, running around the country telling everybody, saying, hey, the Republicans are a threat to democracy. You'd have to be an idiot to be voting for that. Or if you're Hilary Clinton, it's just, you're just too stupid. And she keeps saying these things. And then there's Sunny Hostin, who should be called Sunny Hostile, okay, who yesterday decided, genius, that suburban women voting Republican, it's against their own, against their best wishes and best interests, because all that matters is a woman's right to choose. Stuart, what frustrates me, and I'm going to wrap it up here because the steam's coming out, is that the Democratic Party continues to claim to be the party of the people. We're here to help you. We're here to defend you, what have you. They deny that there's a crime issue. Well, Governor Hochul in New York finally admitted, after she's losing to Lee Zelkin, I think we have a small crime issue in New York City. Okay.
All right, David.
Wait. Still, give me one more. Give me one more. To me, the most disgusting thing is when Sunny Hostin decided that the people who vote for the Republicans are like roaches wanting raid. She said that yesterday on The View. She was lambasted for these remarks. So we have Hillary Clinton calling us deplorables. We've, people who vote for the Republicans are called idiots. They don't know what they're doing. Now they're called roaches. I just wonder at what point does the Democratic Party and their voters, their hardcore supporters, not wake up and realize, something, guys? Something fishy here.
All right. Let me begin because the word Democrat or Democratic sound familiar doesn't mean it's one and the same thing. And the Democratic Party of the 1920s supported Joseph Stalin. The party of the 1950s and 60s was not the same party from the 1920s. And the party of the 2022 election is not the party of the 1950s, but very much like 100 years earlier, the 1920s. And politics is very circular, David. Parties change and grow and adapt and get infiltrated and all that fun stuff. And that's my belief, right? But you're right. Hillary Clinton is on the record for 2016, 17, 18, 19. Then she shut up for a year or two. But 22 said the election was stolen from her. However, everyone wants to say Trump is the only one who says an election was stolen from him. Okay. They want to talk about January 6th. They want to talk about the conspiracy of, the Kushners. Do you know what you know, David? Is when a party's got nothing to say, it's because they've done nothing right. The Democratic Party has failed the United States about crime. It's failed the United States about taking care of the sick and ill. It wasn't Biden that fixed the VA, it was Trump. And it wasn't Bush that fixed the VA, it was Trump. And I'm not a big fan of just Donald J. Trump. I just have to give the guy credit when you need to give him credit and tell you that he's the most unpolitically correct guy in the world. But you would never have the North Koreans firing missiles across Japan.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I call Republicans and Democrats just as equally. And I know that there are people who are going to hang up on, going to not want to listen because they're tired of this stuff. One thing I will give Donald Trump credit, and I agree with you, I didn't like style. I don't like his wording. He's not politically correct. I don't agree. But there is one thing I will give him credit, that in 2016, in his election campaign, he said things and did it. I have a policy. I'm going to rip up the NAFTA agreement and I'm going to redo it better for America. It did. He said he was going to move the embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. He did. He said he was going to lower taxes. He did. What do the Democrats do? They say, oh, look, it's in favor of it. It's not a good thing.
They do worse than that. They do worse than David. They say they've reduced crime. Right. They say they've reduced inflation. Crime.
So did anybody look at San Francisco? Excuse me, in San Francisco. And I met people who just came back from San Francisco who've been there many times. And this one person who I met told me, I will never go back there. The crime in San Francisco is unbelievable.
It is.
Now, I'm going to tell you something else. Joy Reid from MSNBC has decided, again, and this is what the media loves to do. Inflation is not, this is what she said, is not part of the normal lexicon. Americans don't use that. The Republicans are using it for their gain. What?
But you're talking about The View. These are frauds that have no brains.
She's not from The View. She's from MSNBC.
Wrong one.
Then you have the top House Democrat, the House Majority Whip, James Clyburn, who says that voting for the Republicans will bring the United States like Germany in the 1930s.
But that's funny, David. He's very much like Joseph Stalin. They're more like Stalin than they are like Kennedy. I keep wanting to draw that reference, David.
What makes me ill, and this continues to be this, and we have friends, family, acquaintances who are trying to convince you and me that the only threat is the Republicans. Anybody who's a conservative
democracy
is to threat democracy. And that's all that they spew. You know what's funny is that even liberal media has said, you guys miscalculated because all you focused on was abortion. All you focused on was a woman's right to choose. But
that's important. That's important, David.
I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying, but that's the only issue. And if you hear that the only thing that the Biden administration kept pumping was vote us in and we'll codify Roe v. Wade. But the question is, what are you doing about gas prices that are escalating again?
No. They're lowering gas prices, David. Biden says he's lowering inflation, lowering this. He's going to codify. Hang on a second. Why doesn't he sign an executive? Why doesn't he codify it now? He has all houses. Why must he say, vote me in and I'll do it? I voted you in 2 years ago, jerk. Do something.
Because he needs to show, he needs to scare the American population into voting for him. It just shows you, Stuart. I remember talking to a politician once, and he said to me, he goes, the way to get voted is by having ribbon cutting ceremonies. It's not about fixing roads. It's about building new roads. It's not about, look, we maintained everything to be good. You have to show something. We've lost that. We've lost that. I will tell you that when Bill Clinton was in power, he did things. Okay. When Bush was in power, he did things. Okay. When Obama was in power, he started to show that, you know what, words matter more than actions. And that when he had a chance to do things like pass gun legislation, he chickened out. Okay. When he had a chance to do Obamacare in a better way, he chickened out. And again, it's about saying, listen, rather than accomplishment, let me blame. And this is exactly, we're repeating this again. The Bidens have all they've done, and we've seen what they've done in foreign affairs. They've destroyed the relationship in Afghanistan. They've ruined the relationship with Saudi Arabia. They've made an enemy out of Israel. They're making an enemy in other places. They're making promises and they're not keeping it. The United States is a sham with raising crime, immigration problems, inflation issues, cost of living going through the roof. And all he could say is, don't blame me. It's the Republicans. They're the real threat. They're the real problem. And I'm calling out all of our Democratic friends and lovers out there. And before you go and say, yeah, but please look in the freaking mirror, your Democratic mirror, and say, what have you done for me lately? Because from John Fetterman in Pennsylvania to Kathy Hochul in New York and to everyone who's running, it's the same thing. Don't hold me accountable. But the Republicans are to be blamed.
Right.
All of them.
I agree. I agree. David, I started out this dialogue that I compared the modern Democrats to Joseph Stalin. And you told me when we talked offline prior to broadcasting that most people don't remember Joseph Stalin. Most people don't care about Joseph Stalin. I want to remind people that Putin, who just invaded the Ukraine, murdered thousands and tens of thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of people, is no different than Joseph Stalin, is no different than Adolf Hitler. And it seems that the commonality isn't the Republican Party, David, because the Republican Party are the ones that are trying to oppose this dictatorship and make it a republic.
Yeah, but
A republic has a constitution. And a republic is every state has its own laws. And, there are a number of Republicans and now starting some Democrats that are, right of that left insanity that are saying, this is my state. I want our state to do this. And that's the way it works. That's the rule of law, not the rule of my law.
When you think about it, Stuart, and let's take a look, at what's going on. Listen, I'm not saying that one side is holier than the other. I am not. I'm just tired of hearing that the blame is solely the GOP. That every malaise, every problem, every issue is either configurated by the Republicans, exaggerated, it's false. Let's dummy people down because, to say that inflation is nonsensical. Man, where have you freaking been? Okay? I'm 52 years old and I remember gas lines and I remember high inflation. And don't tell voters that inflation is a made up thing. Don't tell people that voting for the Republicans is against your best interest when you as a party have done nothing to reduce crime, inflation, to mitigate recession. All you do is wrap yourself around propaganda, fear, and lies to try to generate votes. That's a shame. And to a certain individual, that's a threat to democracy. Don't forget it.
David, on that note, do you know what time it is?
It's time to tell everybody we're having a good weekend.
Everybody, have a great weekend. I hope you find the time to tell your friends, your loved ones, your friends and family on Facebook to go and vote if you live in the United States. That vote is your right as a citizen. And it should only be for those that are citizens. It doesn't really matter anything else. If you're not a citizen, it's really not your vote. Anyways, David, goodbye.
Have a good weekend, everyone.